You hear a growl in the dark. Your fire is low. Your spear is close. And somewhere just beyond the light, a wolf is watching you eat. For most of human history, this wasn't a nightmare, it was a negotiation. Somewhere between 20,000 and 40,000 years ago, one of the most dangerous predators on the planet started sitting closer to your fire. Not attacking, not fleeing, just watching. Waiting. Learning your rhythms the way you were learning theirs. This is the story of how your ancestors turned killers into companions, and it started with garbage. Let's go back to the beginning. Wolves were not small. They were not friendly. A Pleistocene wolf could weigh over 40 kilograms and take down prey many times its size. These were pack hunters with crushing jaws, animals built to bring down bison and horses, animals that competed directly with early humans for the exact same meat on the exact same landscape. So why would anyone let one near a campsite? They probably didn't have a choice. Wolves came to them. Researcher Raymond Coppinger proposed a theory that changed how scientists think about domestication. He argued that wolves were not tamed by humans reaching out. They were self-selected. The boldest, calmest wolves began following human hunting bands, scavenging bones and scraps left behind at kill sites and camps. The wolves that could tolerate being near people without panicking or attacking got more food. Over generations, that single trait, tolerance for human presence, was quietly rewarded by evolution itself. This is the plain English version. Domestication was not a person walking into the forest and choosing a puppy. Domestication was survival of the calmest. Think about what that actually required. A wolf pack circling the edge of a human camp, close enough to smell roasting meat, far enough to avoid a spear. Every night, a test. Every night, the boldest and steadiest wolves crept a little closer. Every generation, the nervous ones fell back into the forest, and the patient ones inched forward. This happened slowly, over thousands of years, without a single human ever deciding to start it. Archaeological evidence backs this up in startling detail. At Goyet Cave in Belgium, researchers identified skeletal remains over 30,000 years old, with characteristics distinct from wild wolves, one of the earliest possible signs of a dog-like lineage emerging alongside human settlement. The skull was shorter, the jaw slightly different, small changes that hint at an animal already drifting away from its wild cousins. And at the Bonn Oberkassel site in Germany, archaeologists found a dog buried deliberately alongside two humans roughly 14,000 years ago, not discarded, not eaten, buried, with care. That single detail should stop you. A burial means grief. It means this animal was not just useful, it was mourned. Researchers who examined the Bonn Oberkassel remains found something else striking. That dog had suffered from a severe illness as a young puppy, likely canine distemper, and would have needed weeks of intensive care just to survive. Someone kept feeding a sick animal that offered no immediate use. Someone kept it alive out of something that looks a lot like affection. So let's reconstruct a scene. Picture a hunting band moving through a cold European valley, maybe 15,000 years ago. They make camp near a river. A fire goes up. Bones from the day's kill get tossed to the side. In the tree line, eyes catch the firelight. A young wolf, calmer than her littermates, edges closer than she should. No one throws a spear. She eats, she stays. Weeks pass. She's still there. She barks when strangers approach, before any human even notices movement in the dark. She starts sleeping nearer the fire each night. The humans notice she growls at things they can't yet see or hear. They start trusting that growl. This is the moment everything changes. The wolf isn't just being tolerated anymore. She's providing something. An early warning system. A second set of ears in a world with no locks, no walls, no security except vigilance. Now picture years passing. Her pups are born near the camp, instead of in a den deep in the forest. The calmest of those pups survive longest around the humans, because the humans favor them, feed them, protect them from larger predators. Within a handful of generations, you no longer have wolves that tolerate people. You have something new. An animal shaped by two forces at once, natural selection and human preference, working together without either species fully understanding what was happening. Here's the counterintuitive twist. You probably assume humans domesticated dogs the way we domesticate crops or livestock today, through deliberate breeding for a purpose. But the truth is closer to the opposite. For thousands of years, dogs may have domesticated themselves, and then domesticated us right back. Anthropologist Pat Shipman has argued that the human-dog partnership may have given Homo sapiens a critical edge over Neanderthals, allowing more efficient hunting through tracking and cornering large prey. If she's right, an animal you think of as a pet may have helped decide which species of human survived the Ice Age. That reframes the entire relationship. This wasn't humans conquering nature. It was a partnership forged out of mutual desperation. Two predators finding it was more efficient to hunt as allies than as rivals. Think about the timing here. Neanderthals had lived successfully in Europe for hundreds of thousands of years, perfectly adapted to the cold, physically stronger than the humans who eventually replaced them. Yet somewhere around 40,000 years ago, they vanished, while Homo sapiens, arriving relatively late to the same landscape, thrived. Shipman's theory doesn't claim dogs alone explain this, but it adds a compelling detail. Sites used by early Homo sapiens show a far higher concentration of large game remains than comparable Neanderthal sites from the same period, and some of the earliest dog-like remains cluster in exactly these regions. A hunting partner with a nose for tracking and legs built for speed may have quietly tipped the balance of an entire extinction event. That's a strange thing to sit with. The dog sleeping at the foot of your bed tonight descends from an animal that may have helped decide which kind of human would inherit the planet. Consider what a dog actually offers a Paleolithic hunter that a human alone doesn't have. A nose that can track scent across kilometers of frozen tundra, ears that catch movement long before human eyes can, speed to run down wounded prey and hold it until the hunters arrive. In a world with no rifles, no traps, no technology beyond stone and wood, a hunting partner like that wasn't a luxury. It was often the difference between a full stomach and a starving winter. And this pattern didn't stop with wolves. Across different continents and different timelines, humans repeated versions of the same experiment. Wild cats began gathering around early grain stores in the Fertile Crescent roughly 9,000 years ago, drawn in by rodents feeding on stockpiled harvests. Humans didn't need to train these cats to hunt mice. The cats were already doing the job. All humans had to do was stop chasing them away. Archaeologist Jean-Denis Ving studied a burial site on Cyprus dating back roughly 9,500 years, where a human and a cat were interred together, deliberately, side by side. That's long before Egyptian civilization ever worshipped cats as sacred. The relationship was already old news by the time it became religion. Notice the pattern here. In almost every case, it wasn't humans hunting down a wild animal and forcing submission. It was proximity, patience, and mutual benefit, repeated across thousands of years and thousands of generations, until the boundary between wild and tame quietly dissolved. The same quiet negotiation likely played out with other species too. Reindeer herding across Siberia and Scandinavia probably began the same way. Wild herds tolerating human presence near their migration routes, humans learning to follow rather than hunt to extinction. Over centuries, following turned into herding, and herding turned into something close to partnership. Even the timeline of cat domestication tells its own quiet story of two species negotiating terms. Unlike dogs, cats never needed much from humans beyond tolerance. A cat is still, genetically, remarkably close to its wild ancestor, the African wildcat. That's part of why a house cat can seem so much more independent than a dog. It was never truly bred to obey. It simply found a place at the edge of human settlements where the food was good and the danger was low, and it decided to stay on its own terms. In many ways, the cat never fully signed the contract. It just kept showing up. Compare that to how we think about taming today. Movies show a hero staring down a wild beast until it submits. That's not what happened. What happened was slower, messier, and far more collaborative. It took centuries of small trust-building moments, most of which left no trace beyond a shared meal, a scrap of bone, a quiet night by a fire where nobody attacked anybody. There's a famous modern experiment that echoes this ancient process almost perfectly. In Siberia, geneticist Dmitry Belyaev began breeding silver foxes in the 1950s, selecting only for one trait: calmness around humans. Within a few generations, without anyone trying to change their appearance, the foxes started developing floppy ears, curled tails, and patchy fur. Traits nobody selected for showed up anyway, tagging along with tameness itself. It suggests that the very shift from wild to friendly may rewire an animal's biology far beyond behavior alone, and it's likely a small-scale replay of exactly what happened to wolves tens of thousands of years earlier. Here's where it gets personal. That impulse you feel when a dog rests its head on your leg, or when a cat chooses to sit in the sunniest spot in your house without asking permission, that's not new. That's a relationship tens of thousands of years in the making, encoded so deeply that both species now read each other's faces and moods without needing language. Your body still responds to a dog's presence the way your ancestors' bodies did. Studies on human canine bonding have found that mutual eye contact between people and dogs raises oxytocin levels in both species, the same hormone involved in bonding between a parent and an infant. You are not imagining the connection. You are running on hardware that is tens of thousands of years old. Think about how much has changed since that first wolf crept toward a Pleistocene campfire. Cities, written language, machines that fly. And still, in millions of homes tonight, a domesticated predator will curl up at the foot of a bed or in the corner of a room, keeping watch the way its ancestors did, out of habit, out of instinct, out of a bond neither species had to be taught. You hear a sound in the dark. Your fire is low. But this time, something is lying beside you, ears already turned toward the noise, standing guard before you even know there's something to fear.